Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Oh Shoot. I'm your host, Cassidy Lynne, and happy Monday. Do we feel the spring spirit today? Because not only am I feeling the spring spirit, I'm feeling the summertime spirit. If you're watching on YouTube, I'm wearing bright red because there is no better time than the spring to embrace all of your colors. I pulled this shirt from the depths of my clothing closet, like from the depths of my drawer. Like, you know how there's an area of your drawer you don't even know exists? And it's like kind of the Narnia of everything. I pulled the shirt out from there. But you know what? Spring has sprung. Summer's almost here. We are so excited. In this household, me, Charlie, Appa, we're so excited for summer. It's like there's just so much pending. There's not much happening right now, but there's so much that will happen. I'm very excited. So sorry, choked on my words there for a minute. Today we have an advice column. And sometimes when I do the advice column, I open it up to my Instagram followers too. But this week was just you listeners, which means chances if you listen regularly and you submit regularly, chances are your submission might be in this episode. So stay tuned for that. We've got great questions. You guys always have new stuff. You never surprise me with new questions, new topics we haven't covered. So I'm really excited for that. Couple of things to start off. I wanted to start with a couple of business observations, if you will. And I have one hot take too. This is just something random. Let me start with my hot take. Okay. Not often do I come on here and say a hot take. I feel like I'm not over here just like hating on everything, right? Am I? I don't think so. My hot take this week. You guys know those videos on Instagram, those reels that are like, this is the importance of editing. Okay, and it'll be like raw, and then it'll show the edited, and the edited is horrible. Okay, it's like so bad, and it's supposed to be like a joke. Like it's supposed to be like, oh, LOL, like this isn't really how I'd edit. I hate those videos. I do, and I'll say it. I'll stand on it. I hate those videos. Let me tell you why. Number one, I think it misleads our audience. It misleads. Maybe you're an educator. When educators do it, it makes me mad because I'm like, okay, let's just, unless you like very clearly put in the caption that it's a joke, but I don't know. I just don't think that's funny. So I think it's misleading. I think sometimes people don't make the edit drastic enough to where it's like not obvious that it's a joke. I also think, I think it's kind of rude if someone did actually edit like that. Like, I don't know. I just don't like those videos. I think there are so many things that are wrong with that video. I just hate it. I hate when it pops up on my page. I hate it. What is it? Is it your Reels page? I'm so used to like the For You page. I like barely am on Reels. I just hate when those videos pop up. I don't know. I just don't think that there's more harm than good that comes out of those videos. So you'll never catch me making a video like that, especially one of those editing videos. But who knows? I could eat my words next week. Who knows? So that's my hot take. Okay, other business things real quick. Substack? ? Have you guys heard about Substack? Because I had heard about Substack. Many people have, but I never actually tried it. And I've been hearing it's kind of like the anti-social media of social media. It's like the safe space of social media. So I'm like, okay, let me give this a whirl. Got it on my browser first because I was like, I don't even know if this is an app worth downloading. Really liked the content I was seeing. Lots and lots of, it's kind of like a little bit like Twitter, a little bit like blogging, a little bit like Tumblr. I wasn't even on Tumblr, so I don't really know what Tumblr is like. So I was like, I vibe with this. And I got a few recommended posts that were like people's film photos. So I was like, you know what? Let's just give it a whirl. So I made a post. I did. I made a post and I said, learning film here's a few photos, something like that, like literally so dumb. Posted it, got 64 likes. I have 2 followers, 64 likes. And you know what? I'm Substack viral. 64 likes? Go off. Like, that's a lot of likes for not having any followers. That's 64 people it was shown to that chose to like my post, even though they know nothing about me. So I'll probably be hard launching my Substack later on my socials or something. If you want to follow my experimental Substack, go do it. I think it's literally at Cassidy Lynne. Okay, last thing I've noticed, and then let's get into the advice. I've been noticing, and this is just a side note, potentially a prediction for the future. I've been noticing a lot of brands lately have been asking me if I do email list sponsorships, which that is not something I currently offer. I think that's very interesting to note. Not necessarily on like a influencer side, but more so on like a general marketing side of things. If brands are asking for email marketing, that means that they don't find the value in like Instagram or TikTok as much, and that they're finding more value in that email list type of marketing. And what that means is they probably have had better results through email marketing than anything else. So just something to note, just something I'm putting out there. Okay, let's get into your advice, shall we? So we've got lots and lots of submissions this week. I don't even need to summarize them. I can just get right into it. And yeah, we'll go from there. First submission. How did you go about taking on less weddings and doing more brand focused work? I love photographing weddings, but over anything, I really value time with my family and friends, and it's hard scheduling out my weekends months and years in advance and having to miss out on a lot. I would love to enter more in the world of working with brands. Is it turning down more weddings, not posting about them as much, raising my prices, etc.? Would love to know how you made your transition to not jam-packing your weekends with weddings and working more with brands. Thank you. Okay, this is a question that I feel like a lot of people want to know the answer to. So I cover a lot of this in my Find Your Influence course. I can briefly talk about it if you want like super in depth. That would probably be a good place if you want like resources from me. Obviously, there's other resources out there. So how did I go from having a bunch of weddings to taking less weddings and having more brand work? So the key here was, for a while, I was doing both. I was doing full brand work, full weddings. And in doing so, I built up my brand work and my education side of things to where that started to take over the weddings, and then I could pull back on the weddings. I didn't pull back on weddings first in hopes that brand work would take over. What you have to do if you want to sustain it and actually like, if keeping the income is not something that you're worried about, if you're okay transitioning out of it, like income wise, if you've got other income, then maybe this isn't like what my advice is not for you. But if you're someone that needs to maintain that income that you're getting from photography, I wasn't just expecting brand work to take over and pulled back on weddings right away. When a lot of people phase out of weddings or out of certain types of photography, it's because something else has taken over. And that's my best piece of advice for you, is allow the brand work to take over, or allow something else to take over, so then you can pull back on the weddings. It can be a number of things that you could allow to take over. It could be family sessions, because a lot of times those can be during the week. So maybe it's family sessions, maybe it's brand work, maybe it's education, maybe it's mentoring. Really just try different avenues and see what works and keep rolling with that. I do think there are major advantages to working with brands and being an educator. There are also disadvantages. And I think that's how it is in literally any field, content field. There's always going to be pros and cons. There are a lot of pros to working with brands and educating. Like you mentioned, my schedule is pretty free on weekends and stuff, which is nice. But in what I do now, it's very easy to get caught up in the never ending content cycle, which is very exhausting, potentially could be, I wouldn't say it's more exhausting than weddings, but I would say it's a different kind of exhausting. It is a mental, always feeling like you're never going to be good enough. You always have to keep putting out content. And if you don't, then your job's not being done. So that can be hard. But to go back to your question, so you said it's turning down more weddings, posting about them, not as much, and raising my prices. Yeah, I would really focus on allowing something else to take over before you just start phasing everything out. One thing you could do is raise your prices. That definitely would help illuminate some weddings, and allow you to have more free time. But remember, with raising your prices, you do risk potentially not making as much money, because if you raise them too much, you don't meet that demand. So just a few ideas for you. Thanks for writing in. Okay, on to the next. This person that I thought This person that I thought was my photography bestie is now no longer liking or commenting on my posts, my stories, etc. I'm not sure what would have changed. It just slowly seemed to be less and less. She still Snapchats me, likes my personal posts, and texts me. But if it's about advice on an image or just showing her an image I'm proud of, she's basically my hero, I just get average responses like the pictures are, quote, fine. I'm heartbroken over it because, like I said, she's my hero and the person I look up to the most. But lately, I don't feel like I'm good enough for her to acknowledge me photography-wise. I know I should just tell her this, but I don't want anyone to like my post out of obligation. And I want it to be because they genuinely love what I did. I just wish I wasn't so sad about this. Okay, so I know you feel like you're not good enough photography-wise for her to acknowledge you. But potentially what could also be happening is the flip side of it, where you're getting good to the point where this person potentially is starting to feel threatened by you. That is 100% my speculation. I'm also guessing, based on the fact that you guys Snapchat each other, that you're going to be like younger than like 21. So if that's the case, like, you guys still have so much to like learn about yourselves and discover about yourselves that, there is a little bit of that insecurity there. But I do think that engaging with people's posts, it's not as serious as you think, in my opinion. Someone not liking and commenting on your posts, I think it's not that serious of an issue. Now, is it a kind thing for people to do? And is that, it sounds like it's your sign. The way that you show people that you love and support them is by commenting and liking their stuff, because that's important to you. But maybe it's not as important to this person as you think. So I wouldn't write that off as like they hate me, like they're not commenting and liking my posts, I think they hate me. Naturally, what happens in photography sometimes is you're close to another photographer for some point in time, and then you kind of pull away from each other, just based on life, based on style, how busy you are, whatever. So that could be happening here as well. I don't know if I probably wouldn't address it if I were you. Going to someone being like, why are you liking my posts? That just doesn't feel, if someone did that to me, I would be like, what? Like, I didn't even realize I was doing that. So it could be intentional by the person, but also could not be intentional. So you don't want to assume. And it could be a thing where this person feels threatened. Maybe it's not that big of a deal to this person. Whatever it is, I would say if you start to notice things in your personal relationship with each other, like your friendship, then yeah, maybe say something. Like, this could be the start of something, but you never know. So yeah, I wouldn't just jump right to the conclusion that you guys like hate each other. That is sad though. That is a sad situation to be in, and it sucks when people start to pull away, for sure. Okay, next up. This is a little bit of a longer one, so if you're listening, settle in a little bit. We've got a story. Hi, Cassidy. This situation has never happened to me before, so I'd love your advice on the situation. I received a wedding photography inquiry for a date in September, and when she emailed me, she said she got referred to my page by a mutual friend. One of my good friends is getting married on the same day, and I will be a guest at her wedding, so I wouldn't be able to shoot her wedding on that date. I told her I wasn't available to shoot the wedding, but I did have options to send an associate photographer, and I would be the one to edit the photos with my style. She said yes, that she would be interested in receiving a quote and would be interested in the associate shooting her wedding. She then asked me to send her examples of my associate's work, and without thinking twice, I sent her my associate's Instagram page. I sent her the quote with my pricing, and that was that. The next day, my associate, who's also my friend, sends me a screenshot of a bride asking my friend for a photography quote. She asked if this was the same bride that had contacted me, and it was. I told my friend that maybe she just wants to hire her directly, but does this bride not think that we don't talk to each other about it at all? My friend doesn't want to take the client directly because she feels it's not right since she reached out to me first. I told her it's fine, I won't have any hard feelings if she chooses to go with her. Clearly, the client doesn't care about editing style and is just desperately looking for a photographer or a cheaper quote. Who knows? What would Cassidy do? I love your podcast. I commute to work, and it's the only thing keeping me from falling asleep because it's so entertaining. Thank you. Wow. Okay. Interesting. So my first thought here is the client has game. This client knows what they're doing. They're like, oh, this person's going to be hired to shoot my wedding for me. Why not just hire the person myself and skip the middleman? I get that. Like, I totally get that. However, it was a little bit sneaky, and that's what I don't like about the situation is that they kind of just went to the source and they're like, you know what? I don't need you. I'm just going to go to your associate. I think this person most likely wanted to see if they could get a cheaper rate, to be honest. And I don't think they realized that you guys talk like that. I think of when, I don't know, I'm getting something fixed in my house. I could hire this one, I don't know, we're doing drywall. So let's say drywall. I could hire like a drywall person, get my quote. But if they are like, hey, we actually hire out this person, it's like, why not just go to that person? And this actually did happen to us. We got our floors redone in our first house, and the people we used hired someone who had their own floor business to do the flooring for us. So it was like we ended up getting that person's card, and like that's the person that we would hire instead of going back to the company in the first place. So do I understand? Yes. But does it feel like this person is just trying to get a cheaper quote? Yeah. And that sucks. So I do think that you handled it right, though. You were not possessive or territorial with the client. I think you handled this the best that you could, because ultimately you could also lose an associate or a friend in this too if you were to act possessive or get defensive over it. But I like that you told this person, like, no hard feelings, you take the client, whatever. This has been a good mindset that I've been trying to, like, I guess, apply to my life, is the concept of this client was not meant for me. This was not meant for me. This person, like you said, they probably don't care about editing. They care about getting the cheaper rate. So I don't think they're meant for you. And that's okay. And you kind of just have to accept that. I think in the future, definitely set a clearer system. Maybe make the whole thing a little bit more formal with how you present the associate. Maybe you can have like a pick time gallery with all the associates' photos in there. That can kind of help formalize it all and like be super clear about how associates are booked through you, etc. And as you've learned, never share the associate's Instagram. Just for this reason, obviously we want to support other photographers, but it's like in this case, if you share the Instagram, they could go behind your back and like try to book this person. So, I think you 100% did the right thing, and I'll be interested to see where this client ends up, if they end up with your associate or someone else or whatever. So good job. That's all I have to say to that one. Truly, I don't know if I would do anything else besides what you did. Okay. Hi, Cassidy. I love you, and I listen every Monday on my drive to work. Thank you. So we are a military family, and we move every few years, and we're coming up on our first move since I started my business. I'm terrified of starting over. I've been told that SEO is basically pointless for people who move every free. Oh my gosh, I keep saying free. I'm trying to say few, but I'm trying to say okay, every few years. Okay, so let me start that over. I've been told that SEO is basically pointless for people who move every few years, which is super discouraging. We're about to move to Washington State, which I'm super excited about because PNW photos are gorgeous. But I'm hoping to break into the elopements industry out there, but I'm struggling to market myself. How do I get in front of couples who are eloping out there? All the Facebook groups have hordes of comments on every single post within minutes of it being posted. Should I offer to do couples elopements for free, just making my presence known out there? My absolute dream is to photograph an elopement in Glacier National Park, which is where my husband and I eloped, but that feels so far off right now. How do I get in front of the right couples? Great question. So, a couple of things here. I wanted to comment on your SEO comment. I don't think that SEO is pointless for you. I just think you need to pivot the way that you do SEO. Yes, SEO is a long game, but SEO can be a short game as well. And yeah, SEO can take years and years and years, but SEO can also take 6 months, which sounds like if you're staying every few years, SEO still could work in your favor. So number one, I would still focus on SEO a little bit, and I would create blog posts that are like top 5 elopement spots in the PNW. I don't know. Have you moved yet? Coming up on your first move. Okay. You're going to start if you are listening to this right now, go like right after this and do this. You're going to do a couple blog posts, top places to elope in PNW. My favorite places to elope in Glacier National Park. Planning your elopement in Glacier, planning your elopement in the PNW, things like that. Because what this is going to do is it is going to help your SEO. And these blog posts are going to pop up with Google searches, especially if it is something that was just recently posted. Google does like fresh new content too. Okay. So I don't think your SEO, like it's not going to work forever, but I just think it needs to work long enough for you to just locally, just in that season. You know what I mean? So number 2, I think you should start building your portfolio before you get there. Lots of different ways to do this. You can either fly there for a quick sec, do a model call, book models, get some content, do it in Glacier as well. I could be wrong, but I don't think Glacier and the PNW are the same thing. Let's actually look that up because I could be wrong. I don't even know where Glacier is, actually. Is Glacier National Park in the PNW? Let's see. No. Haha. Knew it. Okay, yeah. Glacier National Park is located in northwestern Montana. PNW usually refers to Washington, Oregon, Idaho. Okay, got you. So yeah, those are going to be separate things. So build your portfolio before you get there. You can even share your own elopement photos to build that credibility. Obviously, you're not taking credit. Like those photos, obviously you didn't take, but even just sharing your story of how you eloped at Glacier and stuff, that in and of itself is a good marketing tool. So it's gold. And honestly, people do love booking photographers who have personal connections to areas. So I think that would be a great thing for you to do. So you asked about free shoots, I think. Yeah. Should I offer to do a couple of elopements for free? Yes, I think you should do shoots for free, but they have to be smart shoots. So treating it like a content shoot, make it look like a real elopement, make sure there's flowers, good outfits, vows, like things like that. Make sure you get content, obviously, that is vertical for reels, for Pinterest, etc. So when you set up a free shoot, make sure you are getting all the video content you need, all the photo content you need. The shoot is quite literally for you to have content. So make sure you get everything you need. You could also pitch it as like a styled adventure elopement. So you could reach out to like local vendors, see if they can help with that, which actually does help build your community as well. So if you are planning this free like elopement style shoot, you can reach out to Airbnbs, you can reach out to hair and makeup artists, dress vendors, all different things like that to help provide things for the shoot, but also, it's just good connections to have. And obviously tag all the vendors when you do post that stuff, geotag it, etc. Like those are all things you should be doing when you do the free shoot. Last thing I want to say in regard to your comment on Facebook groups. I think we all know this at this point, but we cannot rely on Facebook groups, especially those like vendor referral ones. It is mass chaos. The groups get too big. The groups become this place where people are competing and rude, and your name just gets lost in 200 comments. So let's try to think of strategy in this. You can get on Pinterest, do keyword rich graphics. So like linking back to your elopement photos or whatever, stuff like that. That's going to really help you get in front of the right couples. Creating reels that are, targeted towards elopements, specifically in, let's say, Washington. So you could literally start a reel and be like, thinking of eloping in Washington, here's 3 things you need to know. Start doing things like that. Okay. So we're switching from Facebook groups. Here's what we're doing instead. You can also reach out to like local vendors and people. So planners, Airbnb hosts, other photographers, see if anyone wants to collab or meet up or anything, literally anything. You could go to a wedding dress shop and be like, hey, I want to take photos of your dresses for free. I'm sure they'd be like, oh my gosh, heck yeah. So don't limit yourself to just those Facebook groups. Okay. All right. Moving on. Wow. We have so many more to do and so little time. What if I just posted like a 2-hour episode one week? Am I in the wrong? Generally, how do you feel about people asking for free advice in a competitive setting as someone who doesn't get paid to educate? Let me explain. I'm a photographer in my area. A photographer in my area asked me for advice on how to get into my industry. She wants to go full time and make a switch of niche and asked me if I could help. I said, sure, I can answer questions, thinking that she was just going to send me like a list and a message. But no, she wants to set up a call with me. She didn't offer to buy me coffee, return the favor in some sort of way. She's just asking me to give her all of my tips and tricks that I had to learn by doing my own research and tons of free work for people for experience. And honestly, it made me mad. I feel like we live in a very entitled day and age, and honestly, I don't want to spend my valuable and limited time to help her when there's so much free info and there's no value of any sort in it for me. Now, if this was a close friend, of course I would help them, but this is a person who I've actually hired for photos in the past, not a friend or someone who has helped me out or showed support for me in any regard. Am I in the wrong? Do I think you're in the wrong? No. An Oh Shoot listener can never be in the wrong. But seriously, I think that, I feel for this photographer, and I know that they are just asking you because they don't know where else to turn. They're struggling. They need help. I get that. But I do think there is a line between, oh, you're my friend, let me do a mentor call with you, or like, something like that. Oh, like I actually have a relationship with you versus like some random person. And I don't think everything in life, we cannot expect to get something out of everything in life. That's just not the way it works. Sometimes you have to give more than you take. However, time is very valuable, very precious, and I don't think you're in the wrong for trying to protect your time. I don't think anyone is entitled to your free tips and tricks. I don't. If you don't want to give them out, then don't. But if you do, great. I don't think there is a wrong or right. I think if you would have said to me in the submission, oh, I'm meeting up with them for coffee, I'm going to share with them everything I know. Great. You're a great person for doing that. Or you're saying to me, oh, I feel like they're trying to take advantage of me. I don't want to do it. Great. Don't do it. this is one of those situations where it really is just how does it make you feel? Is this something that you feel excited about, or is this something that you feel like you're dreading? And as we can tell, you're dreading it. I also do think that there is this like free advice culture that is kind of getting out of hand. There's just so many free resources out there. There's YouTube, there's books, there's TikToks, there's PDFs, there's whatever. There's just so much to learn. And I think, like you said, it can be insulting almost because someone is asking you just to share all of that when you've spent so much time and energy figuring out all of that yourself. And it's actually funny because I had one of my friends, I was like, I would love to do a call with you to figure out, it was Alex. I think I might have mentioned this. It was my friend Alex. And I was like, I'd love to do a call with you about how you host your workshops, but I want to pay you. And I think that is the proper thing to do. If you're being like, hey, let's have a one-on-one meeting where you share a lot of secrets to this thing that you spent time figuring out, let me at least pay you for that or something. You know what I mean? And that's kind of what I felt like was the right thing to do. And she was like, oh yeah, of course. And then I paid her and it was great. And it was a great call. So I think it's okay to say no. I think it's okay to not feel guilty. But, you know, how far are we willing to go to support other photographers? That's kind of something you guys have to answer. This is something I've dealt with for so long because I've been educating for like 4 years at this point, 3-4 years. And it's hard because I've built this brand of like free advice, literally like me posting stuff and telling people what to do. But then there comes a point where it's like, I also do make money from this. And like, I also do mentorships and stuff. So it's definitely tricky. And it's like, when do you cut the line off of a close friend or someone that's an acquaintance? So, no, I don't think you're in the wrong. Yes, I think that's a very difficult situation. And I'm glad I'm not in that situation. Oh, I did type out like a little response for you to say to this person. So this is an exact quote. Hey, I'm honored that you reach out for advice and thank you. Right now, I'm not able to do mentorship calls or one-on-one convos, but if you ever wanted to chat about future mentoring options or if I launch something educational, I'll keep you posted, rooting for you as you make the switch. Maybe take out the stuff if I launch something educational. But yeah, that kind of just gives the message. You could even say, like, if you want to type out a list of questions, I'd be happy to send an email back, but right now I don't really have the time to do like a call. So yeah. Okay, moving on. Making content is really tough for me sometimes. I feel like some people have found their niche when it comes to Reels and TikToks, but I'm seeing trends posted more than anything. Would love your advice on finding your niche when it comes to content creation. Thank you. Okay, so this is what I will say. The people who solely rely on trends for their profiles, their account is solely based on trends. Those are the people that diminish with time and their accounts slowly become irrelevant. Because, right, if you're only following trends, literally trends start to evaporate and then what's left of your account. I've seen this. Do you know how many people I followed during COVID on TikTok and stuff that just phased out because it's like they were only doing trending stuff? Whereas the people that post niche stuff and original content, that's the stuff that sticks around. So how do you find that niche? Post and create content of what you love. That is really the best advice I have for you. Post what you love, and that's going to be your niche. That's kind of how I arrived at where I am right now. I would say creating some sort of like content calendar is helpful. Doing, like a couple of trending videos throughout the month, but also creating original content, original concepts, talking videos, all stuff like that. Like really incorporate all of the different types of videos into your content and see what you like the most. If you posted something about, I don't know, let's say you did like some like really like editorial shoot and that number one performed really well, but you love shooting it too. Ding, 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 ding. that's your sign that this might be a content niche that I want to continue pursuing. If you really enjoyed it and it performed really well, the performing really well thing is optional, because if you love what you're creating, that really is the base of it all. So I would say your niche is just going to be whatever you love creating, because that's going to help you not, burn out and stuff. Now, I don't think trending videos are completely pointless. I think trending videos help get you in front of an audience that doesn't follow you. But I think anything niche or original content, that's going to help people stick around. And that's what's going to make you stand out as well. Trends do not make you stand out. Original content makes you stand out, and you use trends to help you get there, to help the right audience see your content. Okay? Hopefully that makes sense. We're jumping into an ad real quick to talk about a longtime sponsor of the podcast. You guys know it. You love it. We're talking about Aftershoot. If you already don't know about Aftershoot, let me enlighten you, because your world is about to be changed. Aftershoot is the fastest photo culling and editing app out there. The best thing about Aftershoot to me is how fast it makes my editing and culling workflow. Basically, what Aftershoot specializes in is automated AI editing, which is tailored to your unique artistic style. So not only can it cull through thousands of images so fast, it knows your editing style, and it will edit your photos tailored to your style based on your preset and your editing. So when you open Aftershoot, you will start with culling, and it's going to cull your images quicker with AI-assisted culling. Aftershoot can automatically cull your images by detecting unwanted photos, which saves you hours of your time. It'll group similar images, filter unwanted blinks, filter blurry photos. Then once you get done with culling, we head into Aftershoot edits. With only a few clicks, and I actually mean that, it's literally only like 2 or 3 clicks, Aftershoot will edit your photos just like you normally would in your own style. You can set up a personal AI profile in your style, so Aftershoot will know exactly how to edit. There's precision straightening and cropping tools that will automatically crop your photos for you. And if you're ever editing on like an airplane or something, Aftershoot is always available without the need for internet. And honestly, there's nothing worse than getting nickeled and dimed for a program like this, so Aftershoot offers unlimited images and sessions for one flat fee per month. So if you're like me and you edit thousands and thousands of photos at once, it doesn't matter how many photos you edit, you're always going to get charged the same price. And today, for Shoot listeners, you can get 15% off for anyone who buys Aftershoot using the link in the description of this episode. Thank you so much, Aftershoot, for being a proud sponsor of the podcast. And now back to the show. Okay, on to the next. Hi, Cassidy. I'd love some practical advice on how to manage and stay on top of culling/editing during busy season without getting burnt out. I can't afford an AI editing software yet, but I use presets that I made. Basically, how do you stay on top of culling and editing before getting an AI software? So, basically, you're telling me I don't have money for an AI software, which that would really help you, but what are just some practical tips outside of AI that can help me? So, something that stood out to me is the fact that you use presets that you made. This is great. I'm very happy for you that you are able to understand and make presets that you love in Lightroom. However, I do want to ask the question, and I obviously can't get an answer from you, but I want to ask, are these presets something that you are tweaking so much to every single photo to the point where you are spending 10 plus minutes getting the perfect edit on a photo because of the preset that you're using? And I don't know the answer to that, but a lot of the times, sometimes people make presets and they don't understand how to make a preset a good base preset. They make a preset that looks good on one photo and they don't like test it and try it on a bunch of different lighting scenarios and know how to tweak it to make it look good on everything. So what that's going to do is it's going to make your editing time so much slower. And my assumption is going to be that you probably spend a lot more time trying to tweak those presets than anything. Because my advice to you would be to categorize your, let's say you shoot weddings, but it could be other things like shoots, seniors. You are going to categorize those days into different lighting. So let's say it's a senior session. You're going to, in Lightroom, import them all into one catalog. And then I think they're called collections. You're going to make a collection for the first spot that you shot at where the lighting stays the same. Okay, so if all the lighting is the same, select all those photos, create a collection and call it like lighting one. And then let's say we're in the forest, and then all of a sudden we go to this like fountain, and it's like bright direct sun. Select all those photos, put them in another collection, and say like fountain lighting or whatever. Do this for all the different lighting throughout the day. If you're doing a wedding, just do it categorized by like getting ready, first look, family photos, like different portions of the day like that. And you're going to get an edit good on that first image. So once it's all in different collections, first image, get that edit good, and then select all the photos in that collection and sync the settings. And then just go in quickly and just change exposure real quick. I do a keyboard shortcut where my plus and minus are the exposure settings in Lightroom. So if you use your mouse and press and hold on the word exposure in Lightroom, if you do that, it'll enable your plus and minus key to be for exposure. So what I do is when I'm going through after syncing my settings, I'm doing plus or minus exposure, and that's really it. And then you go to your next collection and you do the same thing, and that's going to help you. Besides that, honestly, I feel like that was great advice. So like, that's all I'm going to say. Okay, moving on. My wife is a teacher and she loves what Okay, sorry, I'm going to start over. I keep messing up. I'm so sorry, guys. If you're listening to this, my bad. My wife is a teacher and she loves what she does, but I want to transition her into photography. How can I make this happen in a subtle way? Okay, no context here, but I will tell you that the best way to get someone to do what you want them to do is not by telling them directly, hey, I want you to do photography. The best way to do this is to subtly, like you mentioned, make it happen in a subtle way, is to hint and to just be a supporting hand in it. Because ultimately, you want your wife to love what she does. And you want her to love photography and you want it to be her passion. But how do you make that happen? Not really something you can do. I have a couple of tips, but Number 1, I want you to be curious with her, but don't try to convince her. Okay. So instead of trying to steer her toward photography, just ask more like photography prompting questions. So right now, not right now. I'm like reading while I'm trying to talk, when you read something and you talk and you say the word. So you could ask her like, if you had a free day and you had like no obligations, is there something creative that you would want to do? Give her the space and the voice to vocalize that photography is something she wants to do. Or you could be like, hey, is there a side project that you want to work on right now? Like, what would it be? Because what you're doing is you're genuinely asking for her interest. And if she says to you, oh, I actually want to start a garden. Okay, so maybe she should start a garden then. And maybe let's not force the photography thing. You know what I mean? But if she does say, oh, photography, then we can start to ask questions about it. But being curious about photography and her creative side, that's going to be the first step. Make sure that photography is accessible for her, but make sure it's not like something she feels pressured into doing. So for example, if you guys are like taking a trip, encourage her to bring her camera, encourage her to take photos of her, but don't pressure her into it. And just kind of see what happens without the stress. So you can talk to her about it too. Obviously, you guys are married, you can talk about things, you can talk to her about the magical stuff about photography, but talk about it from your perspective. Don't try to be oh, I feel like you'd be great at photography because you're good at marketing and you're good at running a business or whatever. Go to her and be like, I love when you do photography because I love to see you being creative and I love to see that you love what you do. There's a clear difference between trying to force someone into it and just complimenting them and letting them know. I think it would be great. I don't think this is very subtle, but letting your wife know that you love that she does photography, that's not wrong. That's an okay thing to say, but don't say, I love that you do photography, I hate that you're a teacher. That's where the issue is. And the last piece of advice I have for you is to trust her timing. If you're over here thinking she should do photography, I can guarantee you she's probably also had that thought as well. So just trust in her timing. Allow it to be a creative outlet for her. You know. So basically what I'm saying, support her, be curious about it, but don't force it. If it's meant to be, like, it'll happen. I think you can nudge a little bit, but you really have to, this has to come from her. You know what I mean? It has to. So it's hard because being someone who likes control, sometimes when things aren't in your control, that's really hard, but it's part of life and that's a lesson. Okay. Moving on. Okay, we've got, way more than I thought we had, so that's cool. Awesome. What is your best piece of it on it? Guys, like the talking today. What's your best piece of advice on switching editing styles? When I started last year, I was doing bright, warm, kind of airy shoots because that's what the people that hired me wanted. But I want to switch my style to be more cinematic, documentary vibes while still keeping the warm style, basically not losing my clients. I love being more artsy with my work as a creative type, but I don't want to lose the people that have been kind enough to work with me so far. So I would say the best first transition piece for you would be start shooting in the cinematic style, but keep your editing semi-close to how you were, and start to slowly tweak it to look how you want. So if you feel like you want it to be a little bit more darker, cinematic, start with having the more cinematic vibe in your composition and your posing, and keep the edit or like tweak the edit slightly, and then slowly start to incorporate like cooler tones or whatever it is that you want to do. And it's progressive. It's with every shoot, you're slowly, backing off on the bright white tones and you're starting to like become more cinematic. And it's also something that you can offer to people and ask them, hey, I'm like looking to switch my style from this to this. Would you rather have cinematic photos or would you rather have these bright ones? And you deliver the bright ones, but when you want to switch your style on Instagram, just take a few highlights or previews, re-edit them in the cinematic style, and then post those. So there's a fine line between making sure your clients are happy and satisfied and delivering what they booked, but also making sure that in the future you're advertising what you actually want to be delivering. Okay, moving on. I'm struggling to build my portfolio. I'm just starting out and I haven't really niched down yet. I think I'd like to focus on family photography. I did a Google form application for a model call in a local parents Facebook group. I got 32 applications in 24 hours. I went through the forums and I chose 8 people that gave me the most detail and they seemed the most interested in the opportunity. However, so far only 4 people have scheduled and only 1 person actually showed up. It's discouraging that it seems since it's free, people would be more inclined to cancel last minute or not show up. I recently moved to a new place, so I don't really have a community, like friends, family, etc. Should I keep posting model calls? Should I post somewhere else? Should I not be doing them for free? Do I need to shift my perspective? Please help. So I don't think that free is the problem. I think the lack of commitment is the problem. So you can absolutely still do free shoots, but I think part of it too is the group that you're advertising in. If I went to one of my friends that I met at Pilates and I said, hey, do you and your husband want to do photos for me? I'm trying to get into wedding photography. They said yes. I reach out. We pick a time and they show up because this is someone I've made a personal connection with, kind of. And I kind of know them. Whereas a random person on Facebook really truly has zero obligation to follow through and show up other than them wanting the photos. So what this means is maybe you try to find other means of getting your name out there and doing free shoots. If you do something like this, maybe you do just like a $25 reservation fee that like gets refunded to them. Okay, so that could be an option as well. Because then if they don't show up, then you get to keep that money, which would be nice. So another idea or concept for you to think about is nurture over numbers. Getting 32 applicants is great, but what you're seeing is they probably weren't nurtured enough by your brand in order to stick around and want to actually follow through with that. So what that looks like is sending a welcome email, explaining what they signed up for, what they can expect, send prep lists, tips, things like that. A mood board. They're more likely to commit if they feel like it's a collaborative experience rather than just a freebie. So if you tell them, like, I would love, like, tell me where you want your shoot to be, what's your vision, that is going to help someone stay committed. And obviously diversify where you're showing up to advertise for these types of things. So diversify, not just Facebook groups. We're looking other places. This has been the common theme of this episode. No Facebook groups. That's the title of the episode. So ideas would be like a local mommy and me meetup or mommy and me classes. Where I live, they have these like mommy and me yoga classes. I don't know if you're a parent, so that could just be weird if you just showed up. But taking photos of like, offering to take photos at like some mommy and me meetup event or something like that. Connecting with local people. I mean, this might be weird, but like, you know what? I'm not even going to say that because I think that would be weird. Posting on like another form of social media. You could post on like Nextdoor, you know, like the Nextdoor app that's like all local. Things like that. That could be a good way to just diversify the types of people that are hearing about this. And I mean, if you really wanted to, you could do like flyers or something. I feel like that could be a little risky. But you know, try other things. And I think part of it starts with kind of making a community a little bit. And you know, going from there. Let's see. I have another note here. Okay. The last thing I do want to say about this is don't let this discourage you from starting. I feel like a lot of people would view this situation as like, oh, it's my sign. It's not meant to be. It's not going to work out. Let this be a hurdle. Don't let this be an entire volcano that completely erupts and ruins your entire dream. Let this just be a little bump in the road that you're going to move on from and continue to try. Because I do think that, I think that a lot of the times people, you know, you just let this small little thing become way bigger than it needs to be. So please keep trying. Okay. I just moved into a new studio space in December and it quickly turned sour. My clients and myself were being screamed at by another tenant in the building over parking. Not only that, but the people in this space smoke marijuana and it comes into my space. I'm not against cannabis. I just would never smoke in my space due to the fact that I photograph mothers and newborns. My landlord is completely unbothered by my complaints about this. I bought an incredibly expensive air purifier, multiple sprays to eliminate the odor, but nothing is working. Another space just became available and I'm tempted to use my next business loan to pay off my current studio for the year and move into this new space. Am I crazy? I just really value my clients' experience. My clients aren't used to having these issues, being that my last space was very calm, clean, and professional environment. Okay. So, do I think you should move out? It depends on how much you think your client experience is really being affected. Is this something that, you know, it is a big issue for like newborns for sure and like mothers. So maybe I would say if you think that potentially this could lead to like a bad review or someone not having a great experience with you, then yeah, I would move. The potential I want you to think about is, could I find a way to maybe get another photographer in here that would be willing to pay for the space? Maybe I discount it and like, you know, make it only half as much per month or whatever, 75% less, just so you can have a little bit of that money supplemented. You also did just sign the lease. So could you look back on that and see if there is a trial period or a way for you to break the lease? I would look into that for sure, because even if it's like, let's say $1,000 to break the lease, that's probably going to be worth it rather than paying for 12 months on this place. Okay. So all things to think about. I'd love to see pictures of the new space though. I'm always so curious, like, what people's spaces look like. I don't have a studio, but I'm like, that sounds cool. I'm literally in a studio, in my podcast studio, so never mind. But you know what I mean? I just think it's cool. Okay. Okay, I think I need to skip over a few of these. I feel bad. Yeah, I need to skip over a few. Okay. I'm an aspiring photographer who's going to be launching her business soon. How important is it to have branding elements like logos, brand colors, brand fonts when just starting out? I keep getting hung up on wanting to have all of that ready before I start social media pages for my business, but I feel that it might be stopping me from advertising my services. Do you think it's best to just start posting my work and develop a clear business personality later? I've also been a longtime fan of yours and I've learned so much for the podcast, so thank you for inspiring me. Wow, that's really sweet. I think there might be a little bit of confusion in some of the things I say, because the fonts, logos, and colors thing is definitely something that I have mentioned on the podcast many times before. I think if you are wanting to just get into it, you don't have clients, you want to start the business, you want to start posting your work and get the word out there about your work, nothing is ever going to be perfect. And waiting until it's perfect to start your business, I don't think 75% of the businesses that exist right now would exist if they would have waited until everything was completely perfect. Because when things are imperfect, that's where you learn what needs to change and what needs to be improved. So starting imperfect is better than waiting until it's perfect. So I would say go for it. What do you really need to start a photography business, actually? So there's all these things I can recommend. I can recommend having a website, having Honeybook, whatever. What you really need, you need an Instagram page, and you need people to be able to DM you / email you. That is what you need. So what should you do now? I think you just start it. Start your Instagram. Over time, you're going to develop that consistent style. The website is important. I think when you start to charge enough to where you're like, man, like I feel like this is a good enough of an investment where people would be deterred if I don't have a website. Yeah, you should have a website. So I started my website when I felt like I was like, okay, I'm getting like 6 or 7 weddings a year. I feel like this is a good point for me to have a website. Before that, it was all email and Instagram. Okay. The fonts, logos, and colors thing. Yeah, it's nice. It's nice for a website. Fonts, logos, and colors are not really essential for an Instagram page. Because there's no way to customize Instagram like that. So I would say ditch it until right now you are at ground zero. You're at number 0 right now. I would say wait until you're at 1.5, okay, to have like the fonts, logos, colors website. When you're, as you start to grow, it's definitely something that you should have, but it doesn't need to be set in stone before you start. Okay, this is something you can do in the process. Okay. All right. Let's see. I'm an 18-year-old college art student, and I'm doing my first engagement session this Friday. I plan on starting my own wedding photography business after college. This couple is my boyfriend's sister and her fiance. We're all comfortable around each other, but I'm worried it's going to be awkward at the beginning of the session. Do you have any advice on how to get over that initial awkward vibe? Thank you so much for your advice. This is going to help me for my future sessions. I've got 5 pieces of advice for you. Number 1, don't start with just like shooting them in the camera. Start with chatting. That's always the best solution. Start with chatting. Also acknowledge the fact that it might be weird. I think acknowledging it first and foremost is usually a good thing to do. Just being like, hey, I know like we're friends. This might be a little awkward, but like, I'm going to try my best to make this comfortable, like, whatever. Give them a warm-up pose, like walking, prompt them and tell them like, talk to each other about your day as you're walking, whatever. Be their hype girl. So remember to continue to compliment them and tell them what they're doing well while you're shooting, but don't overhype it too, to the point where you make it like awkward. And the last thing that's going to help you, and I guess them too, is just having like a mental cheat sheet of poses and stuff that mentally you can go to when you feel like you're just kind of drawing a blank. So 2 or 3 poses that are going to be your go-tos in your brain. They're easy to remember. They're easy to do. Have those on hand ready to go. Okay, I'm moving on. I need help with post-wedding culling. After you send the couple the final gallery, how do you pick your favorites to post out of the 90 to 1,500 photo galleries? How do you keep your favorites organized? I struggle so bad and get so overwhelmed that I just won't share anything. It's killing my biz, and I feel like my social media game would be so much better if I got more organized with this process/workflow. So how do you pick previews to post and to edit? The process for picking previews is different for every photographer. For me, there's 2 different ways that I like to pick my photos that I'm going to share. Number 1, during the culling process. So during the process of picking your 900 to 1,500 photos that you're going to ultimately edit and be the final gallery, during that process, pick and choose your previews. So for example, if it is a wedding, I am picking around 2 to 3 photos from each big moment. I'm picking 2 to 3 photos from getting ready, 2 to 3 photos from details, 2 to 3 photos from the wedding party, 2 to 3 photos of the ceremony, maybe like 5 photos of the ceremony. I'm picking 2 to 3 family photos. I'm picking around 5 to 10 bridal portraits of like the 2 of them. And I'm picking like 5 to 10 reception photos. Okay. So another way to think of it too is 1 photo from every really big important moment of the day. Okay. That's how I'm picking my previews. And as you're going through and culling, create a system. So let's say when you cull, you 5-star every photo you want to keep. Okay. 5-star all the photos you want to keep, but 1-star the previews. So then when you go back, you can be like, okay, I'm going to filter just for my 1-stars. And those are the ones that are going to be my previews. And those are the ones I'm going to deliver. Number 2 way that I keep track of my favorites, my previews, stuff to post on social media is actually in the PickTime gallery. So if you deliver on PickTime, which if you don't, you should, go to picktime.com, log in, go to the gallery that we're talking about, go to preview the gallery, and go and heart your images. Okay. Heart your favorite images. And then once you go through the whole gallery, heart the images, download them all. Those are the ones you're going to post. And I think those favorites like save too. So that's nice for sure. Okay. Let's do this last one. This is a long one. Another story. I had a session this past weekend, and honestly, it was the worst I've ever had. It was a graduation session, and looking back, I definitely ignored some red flags. She paid her retainer late, which I allowed, so that's on me. And she kept going back and forth on details. We had to reschedule due to rain, and she ended up bringing her parents instead of her sisters, which was fine at first. The day of the session, we agreed to meet in the middle of a huge, I don't know how to say this word, arboretum? Arboretum. I don't know if I'm saying that right. I texted her updates and even sent my location, but after walking for 8+ minutes, I get the vague text that they are, quote, by a water fountain. In this park, there are dozens of water fountains, so I asked for a picture, realized that they never actually moved to meet me halfway. And then she texts me, how close are you? My parents are getting impatient. That's the moment I knew that the energy was off. When I finally found them, I posed her for the first shot, and within seconds, her mom interrupts and says, this spot is prettier over there. The girl immediately breaks the pose and she agrees. That set the tone. She was tense and clearly on edge, trying to please her parents the entire time. I kept trying to reassure her, this is your session, relax, you're doing great, but the vibe was definitely off. Then 30 minutes in, she loses her phone. We're literally running around this massive park trying to find it. It's total chaos. At one point, I told her, if you want to redo this session with your sisters, Just cover my entry fee and we'll reshoot it. I want you to actually enjoy this. And she seems super thankful. But then hours later, I get a text saying, I think I'll bring my mom and my dog to a different park next time so it's less stress. And I'm like, what? The mom who caused the stress is coming again? Now I'm torn. I genuinely feel bad for her and I want to give her a second chance at a calm, joyful session. But I'm also frustrated and don't know how to respond without overextending myself. Am I overreacting? No, you are not. The vibes were definitely off. However, I don't think there's anything you can do about it. We're not going to snap at the mom mid-session because that's a horrible idea. This mom is vocal, and that would be a very bad idea. It sounds like you might just need to carry through with the session and just let it happen, let it be uncomfortable, or you need to cancel. But I don't know if that necessarily would be a great thing either. You could send an email being like, hey, yeah, let's do a park next time. Totally. Let's have your mom come. Just want to let you know, like I'm going to do a majority of like the directing and posing. Would love to have your mom's input. But for the most part, like if she can just be there to support you and I don't really know how to word this, so I'm kind of struggling. Yeah, just say something along those lines. And just say, just want to make sure you're calm and stress-free about the session. So just want to double check on your mom being there or something like that. Something that's kind of like just a friend checking in on you. Just want to see if this is still the vibe you want. So yeah, I don't think you're overreacting. I think it just sucks. And some people are different. Some people don't understand the vibe. Some people are more high strung. This is just part of the job. This is probably not the last time you're going to run into this situation. So, yeah, I would try to deal with it as best as you can. Maybe sending that email and, obviously redoing the shoot. But besides that, once you redo the shoot, that's really all. Like, we're not redoing the shoot again. We're not going to a second location. They're not going to pressure you into shooting for longer than you need to during the shoot. That's where we start to draw the line. Okay. So don't allow them to walk all over you. You've made this exception to do the reshoot, but let that be the only exception that you're making. Okay. Okay, guys, thank you so much for listening to this week's advice column. I hope you liked it. If you haven't already, I would love for you to rate and review the podcast. 5 stars on Spotify, Apple. I think you can thumbs up on YouTube and stuff like that. Anyway, have a great day, and I will see you guys next week for another episode. Bye.